Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, we're going to be doing the 101 on artifacts. I'm going to be taking you through 15 sets I think are actually required in this game. Out of the multitude, there's like over 50 sets. I think 55 sets in the game now. I believe you could get by with just using 15 and basically take you from early game right the way through to end game with those 15 sets. A lot of sets do similar types of things. This game can be pretty confusing if you're a newer player. So we're going to just stick with, I guess, the basics of why I would choose these sets and where I use them right now. And what I've done is I've split out 3 sets, which I think are particularly important for early to mid game. I've got 4 sets, which I think are mainly focused at end game. And then the rest, I think, can just be kind of like utilized all the way through. And there's a number of ways that you get sets in this game. You can farm Doom Tower and, it's just reset. You can farm Doom Tower and get yourself some sets from there by killing bosses. In fact, it's a really good source of resources. You can farm Faction Wars and get yourself some different sets from there. Or you can go and farm different dungeons and grab sets from there. There's also sets in Hydra. So there's a whole bunch of different areas where you can pick them up. And I will talk you through like how to get these different sets that I'm calling out. To start with the 3 sets, which I think are really useful for early game. Well, I guess early to mid game, really. The first one is almost like a must-have early game set, which is Lifesteal. So the set gives you healing, okay? Now, this is like, I guess, for anyone who's just kind of like pushing through the game, you're going to want Lifesteal on people that do damage because you heal based on the amount of damage that you do. So if you've got your early game starter hero like a Kale or whoever you picked, Elhain, them being in a 4-piece Lifesteal set will mean that they heal for a percentage of damage. Lifesteal does significantly more healing if you've got Masteries and you've got either War Master or Giant Slayer, because those procs of damage will also heal you. So when we're using Lifesteal against, say, Clan Boss and trying to keep your whole team alive, it's only really a massive benefit if you've got these kind of like end-tier Masteries, or you're just doing a lot of damage. Otherwise, actually, Lifesteal doesn't really do a lot for you. So that's something to bear in mind. There's another healing set called Regen, and Regen is a good kind of like healing set if you either don't do any damage or you don't have those Masteries, because this will just guarantee you a percentage heal every turn. And I've got Regen set in my, it's great all the way through the game. Early game, you're going to be using Regen set on low-level Faction War type of champions where you just want them to stay alive so you can get 3 stars. And actually late game, you'll find that you use it in kind of like end game builds where you're farming some of the hardest content in the game. Like you can see here, my Godseeker in Aniri in Regen set, fast, tanky, because Regen heals for a percentage of your HP. So the faster you are, more turns that you have, the more healing that you do. So they're 2 sets from late to mid game, plus another set that's used all the way through the game. Now, another early game set, which you farm from Doom Tower, is Guardian Gear. And this is actually fantastic gear. I'd say this is an early mid-game type of set, but actually there's nothing to stop you using it right the way through. It does stuff that people don't probably realize it does. The reason why I call it like early to mid game is because it's insanely good in Clan Boss. That's its best spot if you're not running an unkillable team. Because basically what you're doing is you're putting ally protection on the rest of your team. A small slice, 10%, but in Clan Boss, ally protection's kind of broken, which means that you're protecting a layer of damage, but you're not taking all that damage that you're protecting. So having an ally protection champion is great, but also having 2, 3, whatever champions in Guardian Gear is insanely beneficial to help you live for much longer. The other thing which people forget about is it actually heals you for every turn you have, similar to what Regen does. Okay, not to the same level, but it's not that far worse, honestly. So for a 4-piece set, this is brilliant, and it's farmable from Doom Tower. I would suggest as early as you can, get yourself beating up the Griffin and grabbing some Guardian Gear because it's brilliant. Great in Clan Boss, as I say, but also just generally good for that heal mechanic as well for stuff like Faction Wars. The other kind of early set I'm going to call out here is Stalwart stroke Defiant. So Defiant is a set which you would get from Forge Pass. It comes around now and then. It's better than Stalwart, but it's the same idea. It's a 2-piece set. But Stalwart, you would go and farm in the same place, would farm your lifesteal, and that is in Dragon. So Stalwart just makes you take less damage from AoE hits. So again, it's quite nice in Clan Boss if you're trying to keep a tank alive. It's quite nice in any boss fight, really, if you're just trying to keep somebody alive. So Stalwart's pretty solid. Okay, let's move on to the kind of like, these sets just work all the time, and then we'll do the late game stuff after. So probably the best set in the game for the average player is Perception Gear. So Perception Gear is giving you accuracy and speed percentage. All of the materials are farmable from doing your faction wars. You just do that on a daily basis. The higher level faction wars you do, the better resources that you get. And basically what you're doing here is you're giving all of your champions that got an ability, like drop defense or decrease attack or any ability that you're trying to land, drop turn meter. The accuracy gives you the chance to do that. If you don't have accuracy, you won't land your abilities. And then the speed's a nice sweetener on top. You will use Perception set right the way through in some of your best builds. It's such a good filler set. Okay, so let me think of someone who's in a bunch of Perception. So you see here, Warlord, filler set on my Warlord here. 4 pieces of it here. It's so good because it's 2-piece that you can just top up your accuracy with a double set. Or if you really need to go high accuracy, I'm trying to think of someone who's got 6 pieces on. No one anymore. It used to be loads. I can't think of anyone. Anyway, if you want to go massive accuracy, you put 6 pieces on, and then you got tons of it, right? So you'll notice that it basically is doing the same as what accuracy gear would do. However, you're getting speed with it as well. So Perception Gear just becomes like the lifeblood of your account. I guess the other one that's similar to that you're going to use all the way through the game as like a 2-piece filler would be Speed Gear. It is what it is. You need to go fast in a lot of situations in this game. Having the speed set's really good to do that. It's probably not as important as it used to be, but it's still very important for most players all the way through the game, either as that filler set or as, kind of like your main set for support units that you just want to try and push at a fast speed. Places like Arena or really any content. But you see here, both speed and divine speed, they're basically doing the same. Divine speed gives you a bit of a shield as well, but it's much harder to obtain. So yeah, speed set. One thing I'd call out is when you get to it, finding speed boots. It doesn't matter if they're rare. It doesn't matter what the rarity is. If you find some speed boots main stat with a speed upgrade for Ascension, they're a godlike piece of gear, irrelevant of the rest of the stats, because it's just giving you so much speed, and it's quite rare to find them. In fact, on my account, we looked at my boots for speed set and sort by fastest speed. You'll see here, I've got 2 pairs of boots. I played the game for 4 years. I've got 3 pairs, sorry. Yeah, 3 pairs of boots that have rolled speed on the main, on the Ascension. So that's pretty nuts. Yeah, it kind of shows you how rare that is and how important that is. Okay, another one that we kind of use all game long, we get it from Clan Boss, is Cruel Gear. So Cruel Gear is very nice because for your damage dealers, you're going to ignore some enemy defense, which is important, and you're going to get your damage stat as a 2-piece. So again, it can become a nice filler set, or it can just become a straight out nuke set. I will say, certainly with building a damage dealer, I like to say like stats over sets. So you want to make sure that you're building 100% crit rate, good crit damage, good attack percent if it's an attack percent champion, even if that means that you don't end up with a whole bunch of Cruel Gear. Yeah, if you've got Cruel Gear that was just crap, I'd rather take random gear from random sets with the right substats over just trying to make sets happen. So bear that in mind with all of this stuff that I'm saying. So with something like Cruel Gear, you're actually going to be looking for, these are all pieces that are not being worn, which is why they probably don't have them all on, but you're looking for things like crit rate, crit damage, attack percent, all the things that would complement a damage build. Another set that you would farm from Clan Boss then is Immortal. Again, great set. It's almost like the opposite. Cruel Gear is your damage gear. Immortal Gear is your survivability. It's your support type gear. Basically, similar to Regen, it will heal you every turn. But for this one, it's 3%. So it's nowhere near as effective as regen, but you do get added health from it as well. So you get less healing, but you get more survivability. So sometimes a blend of regen and immortal together, or you can go 6-piece immortal and become pretty damn tanky whilst also heal is nice. So if you're looking for like a tanky arena build, looking for some survivability in your dungeon running, then immortal's a great kind of filler set as well. Don't forget though, because you heal for a percentage of your health every turn, the more HP percent you get is a bonus. The more speed you get is a bonus because that makes those things proc more often. Okay, let's look at next one then. This one is from Hydra. Even if you are farming normal Hydra, which most people can do probably by a couple of months into the game if they've worked on, you know, like a burn type champion. If you've got your, I suppose you wouldn't have Drexar yet. So maybe it's a few months, maybe it's like 3 months into the game, but you really want a burner in there to get some damage away. And then you just need everyone else to stay alive. But Stoneskin starts to drop. And Stoneskin is just, I mean, it's up there, top 2 set in the game. I'd say it's quite heavily arena focused. But it doesn't mean it's not good outside of arena, because you actually get a bunch of extra stats along the way anyway, which is really good. But in the arena, basically you become unkillable for the first couple of turns. This is like super valuable on revive type champions, on any support type units. If you could do it, if you get to like a late game setup and you could get it on a damage dealer, I'm trying to think who I've got it on right now. I think I've got it on my Hefrak. Yeah. So you see here, I've got 4-piece Stoneskin with some filler crawl. I still want to get my stats up to a good level in terms of crit rate, crit damage, and attack. But it now means that I'm basically unkillable until I take a turn. I'm super slow. So I'm going to absolutely nuke someone when I get my turn. Yeah, that's the idea. I've also got it on Cupidus, and when they added 9-piece, oh no, I don't have it on there anymore. Actually, I used to have. Oh no, I do. So I've got a nearly an 8k attack Cupidus with massive crit damage, 100% crit rate, and because I got Stoneskin on accessories, this is late game stuff. I was able to get Stoneskin with a damage set, which is pretty damn insane. Okay, another set that you would use all the way through, and is a brilliant set, honestly, is Shield stroke Bolster. So early game, you're probably going to be using Shield set until you get a Forge Pass, which is Bolster set. As soon as you get Bolster set, it's just a straight upgrade on Shield. And, you know, I use it on my massive support unit. So anyone who I want to apply huge support to my team, Hefrak here, Necrit even here, is in massive bolster set with some cheeky additional stats. Basically, what I'm doing here, because you apply a shield, this is the same with shield set, you apply a shield of 30% of your health to your team. The difference with bolster is you also heal the wearer, which is just crazy. So bolster set's insane. Plus, with bolster set, you get a protected shield, which is nuts. By the way, plus bolster set will stack. So if you've got 2 people in these same sets, you're just gaining bigger and bigger shields for your team. I would say early game, shield set is one of the best ways to advance through like campaign levels you couldn't do, to help your team get through like dragon stages you couldn't do, or whatever. Like any content, honestly, to help you win arena fights, any content, shield set will help you. Late game, bolster set's just a straight upgrade because people can't steal your buffs away. And honestly, you can build some pretty unkillable teams in arena if you've got a couple of people wearing high HP bolster set. Look at what I've done here. Everything I'm doing is focused on pushing health. Everything, because the more health you've got, the bigger shield you give your team. Okay, so that kind of like covers the all camp. Now we're going to get into more of the late game build stuff. And I guess this is kind of like late to end game. Maybe you start to creep into it in mid game. But lethal stroke savage gear is where it's at for damage. Okay, so savage gear ignores 25% of enemy defense. You can farm this from finite. You probably, the reason why I say it's more late game, because you probably don't get to your finite stage 20 for a bit longer than most of the other dungeons. And that's where you need to be really to be starting to farm some good stuff. It's definitely worth rolling stuff up to level 12 and seeing what the ascension bonus is if you're trying to go for like big boy builds. But even late game, just having Savage Gear, ignoring defense is a massive mechanic in this game to hit hard. So pretty much anybody that I want to do high damage, my account is going to be in Savage Gear with Cruel. I don't have that much good lethal gear. And lethal gear is, I guess it's the upgrade, honestly. It's the upgrade on Savage. I'm even trying to think if I've got anybody in lethal gear. I do have someone somewhere, but I can't think who it is. Anyway, lethal gear you will get from farming Dark Fae in Doom Tower. And lethal gear is giving you basically exactly the same as Savage, but a straight stat boost of 10% crit rate. That's a huge upgrade, honestly, because at that point, you can then start to just build bigger builds. Yeah, you just get bigger stats on your champions because building that extra percent of crit rate is hard to do. So for a late game build, lethal becomes like the #1 damage set for the majority of your damage dealers. Okay, we've got 3 hours to go through. So another set which ends up becoming a very cool set late game is going to be Reflex. The reason why this is so good, let me think who I've got Reflex on right now. I normally would put it on enemy max HP type champions. But I don't know if I've got it on right now because I've been changing tons of builds around. Here you go. So Geo, kind of like an enemy max HP champion, honestly. But the reason why Reflex is so good is because after using an ability, you've got a chance to cool down one of your skills. Now, what you want to do is you want to utilize this on champions where you only use one of their active skills. And by active skills, I mean anything other than an A1. Anything which would go on a cooldown, you basically want to only ever put the one skill you want to continuously get back on cooldown so that it always procs on this same skill. Always get the proc on the skill that you want. That means you will get it back super quick. Really good on someone like a Geo where all of his power comes from his A3. Champions like enemy max HP champions where all of their power is in their enemy max HP hits. And in content where you want to recycle those quickly. So content like Hydra, content like, I guess, Doom Tower bosses, content like Clan Boss, potentially. Depends what sort of speed tune you're running. But you'll see here, this Reflex set on someone like a Geo, it's game changer. It's a game changer for the amount of damage output that you can do in that late game. Okay, 2 more sets. So a set which has got buffed fairly recently and has probably moved up to A tier as a set now, didn't used to be, is Protection Gear. Protection Gear is now super strong. Okay, so you get a load of stats along the way, including some nice speed boosts. You get chances to place protected buffs. So anyone who is placing multiple buffs on your team at 6-piece, you get a this comes from Hydra, by the way. It's the other set from Hydra. At 6-piece, you get a 50% chance to place protected buffs. I've got it on my Sifi. Literally in Hydra, that is a game changer for me. I run Sifi in my high damage team, and I'm just throwing out protected buffs like you wouldn't believe. Yeah, it's just crazy. Same in the arena, honestly. Like throwing out protected buffs is just a game changer. So at 6-piece, as I say, you get 50% chance to do that. If I was able to get some accessories for her, I might just pick some up today. We'll have a look. If I could push it to 9-piece, then get a 75% chance of protected buffs, and allies deal 5% more damage for each buff placed by the wearer. So I can get another 15% damage out of my whole squad if I could find 3 more pieces for Sifi here, which are a protection set. So if I'm looking through my gear at the moment, I've got Stoneskin here. I don't think I've picked any up yet in this faction, but it would be a game changer. When I'm able to do that, it's an absolute game changer for my Sifi build, or for any build really that's a massive support that's placing multiple buffs. I'd say minimum that wearer needs to be placing a couple of buffs on their main skill that they get back relatively quickly. But yeah, it's just a really, really great late game set. And the buff to this set, I think, was spot on, honestly. Okay, last one then. And this is a set that I have just got none of. And it's actually meant that my least favorite dungeon, and the one I have definitely farmed the least in this game, has now become one of the most desirable dungeons in the game for late game players. So we've already got Reflex in here. I haven't talked about Retaliation, which is a nice set that doesn't quite fall into this top 15 for me. But situationally, it's a brilliant set. Okay. Outside of that, most of these sets are crap. But Curse set has suddenly become really useful because Hex is now solid. It's now a really good ability to land. So Curse set has become one of the most desirable sets, especially for late game players. If you put Curse set on a support champion who does a lot of AoE stuff, and you've got this 50% chance continuously to apply Hex to every target, basically means that anyone who's doing big damage, like let's say you've got an Acrisia doing AoE enemy max HP hits, she's doing the big hits, and then she's doing an additional 10% on every target that's got that Hex on it. So it could be up to an extra 30% per swing whenever Acrisia goes on every target. It's a lot of extra damage. So a lot of people tend to run someone like a Lydia in Curse gear. Honestly, anyone though that's doing, anyone who's doing your debuffs, for example, that's doing an AoE debuff would be pretty solid in Curse gear. I'd say you only need it on maybe one or two of your champions in somewhere like Hydra. And outside of Hydra, it's less important because you probably don't have the length of time for it to really make sense. But it's just become a really desirable set and up there, certainly in the A tier group. So look, there you go, 15 sets. That's all you need to change your life in Raid Shadow Legends. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon.